Smorgasbord Radio Show.
I'm Randy Garuti, the CEO of Shake Shack, and we are here live in Madison Square Park at the original Shack. When you get your vaccine over this next few days, we're going to get you with a free Shack Burger card. Anytime you go for the next month, you're there grabbing your burger, your chicken sandwich, show us your vaccine card. We'll get you a free fries on us to say thank you. Get your vax, get your Shack, and let's gather up as a community again.
If this is appealing to you, just think of this when you think of vaccination. I'm getting a very good feeling about vaccination right this moment.
Welcome back, everybody. You have joined the SmorgSbord Radio Show, the SmorgShow podcast, episode 123, recorded May 15th, 2021. And another 6 weeks has gone by since we have been on the show. Oh, not again. Oh. That's gotta hurt. That will hurt in the morning. Oh my! Can you kind of? Oh! Didn't you hear I was doing an intro there? I'm gonna have to redo this. Well, get back in the car.
Now you know what's really hurting is my shoulder. I just got the vax.
You did not.
Ow!
Did you get a free shake with that, or French fries, or what was that?
No, I got my Krispy Kremes.
Oh. Fantastic. That's right. They were doing some kind of promotion, right? We talked about that, I think, on the last show.
Krispy Kremes for like a free Krispy Kreme every day for a year. I mean, or at least to the end of the year when you get the vaccination or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard.
So I called this episode, I was trying to come up with a title for this as I was putting the outline together. And all I could come up with was National Meltdown. Does that fit the spirit of what's going on? And I'm talking about whether you're talking about our institutions, general sanity, people's ability to think critically, our culture, our collective ability to even function as a cohesive society. I think it's a meltdown mode that we're in right now. I don't know how you feel. I just feel like I'm just being what's the word I'm looking for?
You're feeling Barack?
Yeah, a little bit. No, I'm just getting a little whiplash. Every day it's something new that I've got to be concerned with.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's really hard to even really pinpoint an appropriate phrase or terminology to kind of describe what's going on now. So I'm just kind of looking at the whole situation like you are in sort of this slight state of shock. Yeah. And just trying to...
Sorry, I'm moving over to the microphone.
Make some sort of sense out of it, but can't really do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, National Meltdown, you said it was National Meltdown. That's the term you're using. I think I think
I'm going to go with it. It was a working title, but I think I'm going to stick with it.
No, I would go with that too, but I would actually extrapolate it or expand upon it and say that it's a global.
Yeah, you know, I was just going to call it Meltdown. Maybe that's it. Just Meltdown. And then people are like, hey, what's this about?
Well, yeah, I think that would be good.
Meltdown, yeah, because it's more general, more global, like you said in nature.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's all about the global agenda.
Yeah, okay.
No, but seriously, in that regard, is that I think everybody's feeling it, and I think everybody's kind of feeling that society, as we have understood it for the past, I don't know, ever since we've been alive, has definitely started to unravel in some very meaningful and very fundamental ways.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm coming from it. I mean,
yeah.
As you know, I have my own thoughts about it. We're going to be obviously getting into those later on because I am the chief CCC.
Yes, actually, I didn't even properly, because you're stumbling down the stairs threw me off. My whole rhythm of exactly I was going to introduce you.
You shouldn't have left the slinky on the stairs. I just saw
know.
that.
This is Jerome.
Yo.
I'm just going to call you Jerome.
That's right.
You have been a friend of mine for almost 40 years. You've been on the show here for many, many years. And yes, you are the chief conspiracy correspondent.
Yes, CCC.
And we always now have a segment that I think you contribute to the most, which is usually our last part of the show.
Well, it's usually, observations about culture. And the kind of general socio-political situation that's going on at the time.
Yeah, we've been evolving as a format on this show. The Smorgasbord Radio Show is just a variety of topics. It started off being just kind of a thing with my daughter and me when we started this thing about 11 years ago. Mm-hmm. Very lighthearted, kind of in the old days of our radio show in high school. It used to be a variety show, mainly a call-in show kind of a thing. And we played games. We did other kind of. Now it's been has moved out. She has graduated college, which I'm going to get to just here in just a couple of minutes. But now I've been having the old guys out here. Dave, my old radio partner, Jerry, you've been on the show a lot more.
Excuse me, Jerome.
Jerome.
Yeah. It sounds sexier.
It adds a little bit of gravitas.
Well, that's for sure. Jerry,
come on over here, Jerry.
Jerry, lady.
No, seriously. Anyway, so Jerome is here, and so buckle up. So, so back to the format. The first half is usually lighthearted, and the second half we'll get into the more heavy topics. So if you're ready for that, that's what we're going to do over the next, who knows how long the show. I think it might be a double episode again.
Could be, and by giving them the heads up on that, you know when to actually, when you want to bail. If you're like, oh wait a minute, this is too much, and you can bail.
I think I need to start indexing the show, kind of like a lot of other podcasts, where you could just like a lot of YouTube videos, you could see, okay, at 5 minutes and 42 seconds is whatever where I want to. This is the only thing I want to listen to.
Yeah,
we keep you in suspense here. You don't know where we're going to go.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Keep them in suspenders.
So I want to start off by saying that as I was preparing for the show and I went to the local Binny's, our liquor store here, I came into contact with a latest effort of evangelism, which I thought was kind of interesting. I came out with my my 6-pack or whatever I was buying, and this was on my windshield. This little pamphlet, and it says, "World Deadliest Drug." And I'm like, what's this? And
is it heroin?
That's what I thought. But apparently they were waiting for me to go into the liquor store. And I'm looking around and I see all the cars around me have the same thing on their windshield. First I thought it was a ticket. I'm like, how did I get a ticket in a parking lot? I realized that, you all right over there?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I had a little bit of the pretzel, and I think
someone gets that. Anyway, I looking around and I didn't see anybody like hiding behind a lamppost or something in the shadows waiting for the next. So I read this thing a little bit. And it's obviously promoted by a church.
Which one?
Dial the Truth Ministries is dedicated to presenting the truth in these last days before the glorious appearing of the great God and our Savior Jesus Christ. We have a recorded message. Wonder what that's about. We should try to call it. It's Dial the Truth Ministries. They're in Alabama. So they came all the way up here and they were looking out for my eternal soul by this pamphlet.
Sweet home Alabama.
So it starts talking about how deadly alcohol is, and they go into some statistics here. I didn't do any fact checking. I just took them at face value. Like every 12 minutes, somebody is killed by a drunk driver. And then it lambs led to the slaughter. In just 1 year, alcohol will slaughter more Americans on our highways than all of the American soldiers killed in World War II. So all these, hyperboles here, and I just didn't fact check it. But then I get to some of these other facts here. This is kind of interesting here. Next time you buy that drink, next time you buy that 6-pack, you are footing the bill for the murder of somebody's loved one. Of somebody's loved one. Somebody's little child, just maybe your own. Next time your wife and children go to the grocery store, next time your husband go to work, beware. It just may be the last. There's a vicious killer stalking the highways of America. And then it goes into some of these stats. Victims of alcohol, 50% of all automobile deaths, 80% of fire deaths.
Okay.
I thought it would have been smoking in bed, but.
Well, that's usually after you get drunk.
Maybe. It all traces back to the root cause, maybe. 65% of drownings, 22% of home accidents, 77% of falls. So earlier, when you came down those stairs, I would assume that alcohol was involved.
Oh, I'm not going to say when we're...
Well, 77% chance of it.
Well, yeah, no problem.
40% of assaults, 35% of rapes, 30% of other sex crimes, 65% of murders.
Does it say anything about domestic abuse or anything like that in there?
Yes, 55% of domestic violence, 60% of child abuse,
Well,
90% of divorces, and number one cause of insanity. Okay, that's where I kind of went off the rails here a little bit.
yeah, really?
We need to
Insanity?
apparently so. And the number one killer of Americans.
Statistically speaking, huh?
Yeah. Killer
Yeah.
alcohol can make an otherwise faithful man or woman forget their marriage vows. Currently, 2 out of every 3 marriages end in divorce. And, coincidentally, 2 out of every 3 adults drink alcohol. Therefore, the correlation is overwhelming.
I'll drink to that.
How do they make that? How do they draw that conclusion? I don't think that's statistically sound, that logic. A Miami judge recently shocked all news media when he stated that a whopping 90% of all divorces were caused by drinking problems. So they start to go into scripture here.
Okay.
Hey, we've become a very biblically based show here the last couple of episodes here.
Yea, verily.
The Bible gives a perfect description of alcohol in Proverbs 23. Who hath woe? Who hath sorrow? I guess this is King James.
Yeah. You get those thous and haths and thys and, you know.
Who hath contentions? Who hath babbling? Who hath wounds without cause? Who hath redness of eyes? At the last, it biteth like a serpent and stingeth like an adder. Thine eyes shall behold strange women, and thine heart shall utter perverse things. It biteth like a serpent, and did you know what the serpent is? Poison. And it's actually speaking about wine in Proverbs 23:32. So anyway,
Well, I don't think they had peanut butter whiskey back in the
no.
in the Bible era.
And it goes on to say, would you like to be saved? So I felt really guilty all of a sudden coming out with my 6-pack. So, oh, geez.
It was funny because I was read that pamphlet right over this huge can of beer that you're about to drink.
Well, the show always starts this way to kind of get the creative juices flowing.
Creative. I just see a whole bunch of creative juice right in that
On my lap.
well, I was going to say in your pint glass.
So, yeah.
Man, that's a head on there. That is thick.
This is a strawberry cheesecake beer. Nice manly drink.
Yes. Yeah, that head is
Oh,
thick.
yes.
That
Listen to that.
Yeah.
That's like a Starbucks froth maker.
Yeah, that's a place I don't go to anymore.
So anyway, just wanted to kick that show off that way. So Allie finally had her college graduation last week, almost a year and a half after she graduated, because of course, you know, everything has happened over the last year.
Yeah.
You might have heard about some sort of a lockdown pandemic
thing
going on here in the Midwest. Yes. I'm being given the signal here that we need to take a break for our special guest. We're not on the radio. You can.
Okay. I need to get some water.
This could be the outtake. This could be part of the bonus content.
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
All right, go ahead.
I have to get some water. I
Yeah.
was trying to hold it.
All
I
right.
really was.
All right.
WDGCFM giving away $1. If you call us up when we play David Gilmour and Rolling Stones back to back, you win $1 from the big one, DGCFM.
Okay, we're back. So as I was saying, Allie finally had her commencement ceremony about a year and a half after being locked down. She was actually ready to move on after college because she's been working, and then all of a sudden they announced that they're going to actually do this in person. And she's like, I don't even want to go. But then her friends were going, and she's like, all right, I'm going to go. Turns out it was scheduled for Mother's Day. And I was like, all right, what time is it? 10 o'clock in the morning. Great. All right. So we'll just do something in the afternoon. So I made reservations at a restaurant that we went to so I could take, Kim and Allie out. And then the night before, she gets an email saying, because it was going to be raining that day. It was last Sunday. And they said, due to the inclement weather, we are going to be pushing the ceremony back to 12:30. And it's like, and they won't take it indoors. It has to be outside because of, they're still kind of fearful there. They don't want to do it, indoors. But meanwhile, they just disrupted, not only were they short-sighted to schedule this on Mother's Day, but then to move it back a couple of hours really just threw off everybody's plans in the afternoon. So we had to do some shuffling around with the reservations. Of course, you can't reschedule your reservation on Mother's Day. It's been filled up for weeks, so it's impossible. So fortunately, the restaurant allowed us to take some food out, and we made the best of it. And then I'm thinking, you're relying on your weather app, whoever's rescheduling this, and you're guaranteed now that the rain's going to be over by 12:30 instead of 10. It's like, okay, what if it changes again? What are we going to do? Turns out it was a nice day. Everything worked out. Oh, I should be playing this underneath. Yeah, there we go. Just a little bit of mood here. So we get to the college and they've got signs everywhere saying you got to have your mask on. Everywhere on campus. You can't be walking around otherwise. This is in the heart of Naperville. So they're pretty guarded down there. Oh, you're back.
Yeah.
Have you been talking?
Yeah, and nobody heard me, but that's okay.
I'm so sorry. So we took our seats and we're waiting, and then it was beautiful. The students come out, we see Allie, we're proud of her, they get down. And then they do the opening prayer. Now,
wait for it.
I think I have that.
Cool.
So this was, let's see, who is the
preacher?
Reverend Eric Doolittle. Was a campus chaplain, and he opened this up, and I'll play this.
Good afternoon. As the North Central College chaplain, it is my honor to ask a blessing on these proceedings and on this graduating class of 2020 and 2021. To reflect the United Methodist affiliation of our college and my own belief, I will lift up this prayer from the Christian tradition. May these words and thoughts resonate with you no matter what belief you hold. May we enter an attitude of reflection and prayer. God of infinite mercy, turn your eyes upon us as we gather on a day of celebration that is also tinged with sadness. Incline your ear as we shout with joy and hear too the softer cries of our inward pain inflicted by the ravages of the pandemic of COVID-19 on our health, our jobs, and our sense of connection. The pain of grief at the absence of those friends, family, and mentors whom we had hoped to be here with us. The pain of injustice inflicted by the festering wound of racism, which stokes hatred and violence in our world. The pain of anxiety for the future of our society and natural world. Soften your heart to recognize our sorrows, to ease our troubled spirits, and to renew our hopes and dreams. Great is your faithfulness, O God. Grant us your peace. Grant us your knowledge.
So, I mean, there's nothing you can disagree with there. It's just that it's like, this is a happy day. And then you have to bring us down. It's like, okay, the sadness, maybe I can understand the separation.
The COVID thing.
Yeah, everybody's got a personal situation, maybe family members or whatever. But then you enter that, and I could actually hear groans behind me, actually, in the bleachers.
Yeah.
Because it's like, come on. So
they had, well, there was not only that, but then, they had, it was like there was a check, like a list, and things had to be checked off. And the first thing was, COVID, okay, that's got checked off.
Right.
And then we move to the next thing, racism, got to check that off.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, it was like, global warming, environment, check that off. It's like there was something there.
To satisfy everybody.
Well, to
the faculty.
Well, that's it, basically the faculty, because I'm sure most of the people in the audience didn't give a hoot about any of it. By the way, I just want to say he actually does sound like a Doolittle.
Doolittle.
I'm Reverend Doolittle.
So I did some research on this guy because he's from the United Methodist Church, and we were actually members of the United Methodist Church until recently. They've kind of gone off into a different path, let's say. A lot more social justice stuff and getting away from,
They've walked off to woke land.
I think so. So I decided to look up this guy's
Matter of fact,
Facebook account. Yeah.
The name of the church you used to go to, so something land, Wheatland, right?
Yeah.
Now I can call it Wokeland, I guess.
Wokeland. Well, they changed their name completely anyway.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So I looked up his Facebook account, and I printed off some posts here. First one is in response to Oklahoma governor signs bill that prevents schools from teaching critical race theory. And his comment to this was, white fragility codified. Causing possible discomfort to white children's feelings has been prioritized over the actual harm racism causes to children of color.
I was going to say something there, but because of the show and everything, I won't say it.
Why hold back?
Well, okay. It's like children of color. Oh, you mean colored children?
Because
isn't
that.
Isn't that kind of an inverse of what you're saying?
Yeah. Here's another post, not in response to anything, just one.
Not that I'm cool with either term, just like, if you're a black person, brown person, just whatever.
Yeah.
But just like of color. It's like
of color.
And it's these catchphrases and buzzwords, if you will, that, really do get tedious after a while. But anyway, we're going on. Say something.
This one is a post, which might kind of summarize maybe sort of what we're seeing overall. Critically examine the team that translated your Bible. They made choices and decisions that affect your understanding of God. So now they're questioning really the interpretation, which puts it all into question.
Well, then if you're a Christian, you believe that the people that wrote the books of the Bible were divinely inspired. So if you call into question the people who were divinely inspired to write the Bible, then why don't you just go all the way up the top and question God himself?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree there, but I think he's talking about the next step. You've got the initial inspiration, God-inspired inspiration, but then you've got the people who translated it into all the different languages. You know what I mean? So there's another layer, one separated from the original inspiration. So he's saying, look into the background of those people because they may be teaching you something that it wasn't. So now that this opens up the opportunity to challenge everything you're reading in the Bible based on this. That's how I took it.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, I think we've talked about this about a particular theologian. I forget his name, but who's kind of redefining the term Christ and what it really means.
Oh, right. The universal Christ.
The universal Christ. And it's like, what does that have to do with Christianity?
Right. Christ is in this tree. Christ is in this rock.
Well, that's pantheism. That has really nothing to do with the triune God or anything we would recognize from the, I think the thing because when I went to Catholic school, we learned this thing called the Apostles' Creed or whatever you want to call it, which kind of lays down all the particulars of the Christian creed and what it means, what Jesus' role is, what, God the Father, Holy Spirit, it was all laid down. And now we're trying to redefine all these things again. And it's like, I don't know, it worked pretty well for 2,000 years, 1,500 years, whatever. I mean, why?
Here's another one. The recent spate of anti-trans laws about sports isn't to protect female athletes. It's a backdoor to get the Supreme Court to strike down Title IX. Once these laws affect an athlete, there's going to be a lawsuit. Under Title IX, the lower courts have to side with the athlete because she is being discriminated against because of gender. Mm-hmm. The Republican Attorney General from this red state passing these laws will definitely appeal every time, and eventually SCOTUS will take it up. Now they have a vehicle to say gender should not be taken into consideration in any way, and Title IX is now unenforceable. This is a wedge issue, and it's being used to pit cis women against trans folks. If you belong to a group that has faced discrimination, you need to see how the fight for justice has to include everyone, or we will all suffer.
That's a lot of extrapolations from a particular, one particular issue. The thing is, when we're talking, and why these lawsuits have been coming up is because cisgendered women have been victims, I would say, victims of this new policy to kind of wipe away the distinctions. The thing is, I don't care how you put this in, ideological or whatever terms you want to use. The fact is, there is significant differences in a transgender woman and like basically a male to female transgender and an actual cisgendered or whatever term they want to use, biological woman, actual physical biological woman. Those transgendered women that are competing in sports are taking their biology of when they were male in with them. It's not as if like when you become transgender, all of a sudden you like shrink down to the size of an average woman and have average woman strength. You still retain a lot of your male strength and agility and things that regular biological women do not have.
Right.
And seeing this as a purely political issue takes away the biological reality that's not being addressed.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think?
Yeah. No.
Because but that's the thing with people who are ideologues. They let their ideology lead the way, and they don't take in practical considerations.
Yeah.
The practical consideration is that if you're a transgender woman athlete, you are going to be at a physical advantage over practically all female athletes. There may be a few that could hold with you, but most won't.
Yeah.
And I think that's an issue if we're talking about women, because this is obviously more. They don't talk about it the other way around. Where like, where trans men or women that become men, they're not talking about the issue there. They only seem to be talking one particular way, which I think is very strange. Because obviously, I think if it's going the other way and it's athletic men and a woman transitioning to a man and being athletic, probably won't be an issue as far as like. Coming in and like taking all the awards and doing it because they're coming from biologically female. And so they're going to probably be, they're not going to have the biological advantages that a biological man, which is to being a woman, is going to have. So they're not going to they're not making a big deal on that end, but they're only making a big deal.
Yeah. I got you.
See what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, I'm sorry. I don't know if I was getting on a tangent, but I wasn't trying to.
I'm trying to keep this moving.
I know.
I got one more on this guy.
All right.
I'm just the purpose of this is just to show you kind of like where his framework is.
He's very SJW.
Yes,
He's
exactly.
Very social justice warrior.
This one is about his, it says, predicting your response to the COVID vaccine. A friend who has had a hard time with their second vaccine confirmed my theory about predicting how someone might react. Imagine you have some gasoline from Bob's Discount Gas and barbecue. The gasoline is fine, but it's not special either. If you put that gas in a Formula One race car, that race car is not going to run very well. It's designed with precision and efficiency and does best without any extra junk in the system. You might even have to spend a few days clearing the systems before everything gets back to peak performance. Put that same gas into a beater, and there's no difference in how bad it runs. It's just sputtering and it is sputtering and underpowered from the gas or from 100 other things that were already a problem. Who can really tell? These vaccines can do a number on you. If you're having a hard reaction, maybe you're a Formula One car. Hopefully a few days later, you'll get back to peak performance. If you're like me, it felt like a normal day. Not great, not bad, but I was able to keep moving. Whatever your experience, remember that it's temporary and saves people who couldn't handle a vaccine, much less the coronavirus, from ending up in the scrapyard.
Tell that to the people that actually died from reactions to the virus for the
vaccine.
Of the vaccine, and people have had serious reactions to it. I mean, like for multiple days. and some
Yeah.
maybe even having permanent. Look, I know that's not a large percentage
Right.
of those that are vaccinated, but it is there. And also, if I'm not mistaken, you can verify this if I'm wrong or right about this. There's no liability for any of these companies.
No.
Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, whoever they're, Johnson & Johnson, if something happens, it's on you.
That's right.
You have no recourse if you get a bad reaction or if you end up being permanently disabled in some way from this vaccine.
Yeah.
But you should just shut up and take it because the science is settled and it's safe, and don't be some sort of tinfoil hat guy. Okay, fine. Then let me be able, if something does happen, let me be able to sue the company.
And we have no idea if it's okay, you get through a few months and you're fine. There's no guarantee that 10 years from now, something else is going to creep up.
Well, exactly. I mean, yeah. Like I said, you could feel fine for the moment, but that is no guarantee. Current performance is no guarantee of future performance. If we're going to go to that reference.
Yeah. So Canada's a mess right now. I've got a family member who's been stuck up there since June of last year.
Yeah, it sucks.
Can't travel back. And now he had his first shot of the 2, I think back in March.
Yeah.
And the second shot won't be ready until end of July. First of all, I thought it was like a month that you had to have them back to back. But they're having a hard time getting them distributed up there. Justin Trudeau bragged earlier this year that he had procured enough potential vaccines to protect a population 4 times the size of Canada. But 4 months later, not even 2% of Canada's population, or just under 38 million, is fully vaccinated. And large swaths of the country are going back into lockdown thanks to a brutal third wave. Canada has logged nearly 1 million cases and 23,000 deaths since the beginning of the pandemic. Trudeau had hoped to get the population vaccinated by June, but now says all Canadians who want a vaccine will have one by the end of September. Canada is only one of the only large economies in the world that did not attempt to manufacture its own coronavirus vaccine. No surprise of Canada there.
Well, when you have Justin running things.
Yeah.
I've never liked that guy. I thought, of all the Canadian politicians I've ever known, I found him to be the most repulsive, to be honest with you.
So why do I bring up Canada? Well, I don't know if you hear about that pastor that was, let me get here.
Oh, Canada.
Have you heard about this? Is it Artur Pawlowski.
It's
Pawlowski.
No, Pawlowski.
Pawlowski, yes.
W's or V's.
W's or V's, and it's the other way around. Yes, That's right. Pawlowski. He is a Canadian pastor out of the Calgary Street Church in Alberta, and he was holding a Passover / Easter service where he confronted a group of cops who tried to break up the service because he was defying orders of lockdown. And I have an audio clip from that, a few audio clips from that first encounter.
Can I ask you a real quick question?
Yeah, sure.
Is this a provincial lockdown, or is this a part of the larger national lockdown thing?
Which one? What are you talking about?
Well, the lockdown that he was violating.
This was in April, right? So I think they had already started the nationwide one,
okay.
And he was still doing the service.
Okay.
So here's him chasing the police, literally exorcising them from the premises.
That's a good.
You like?
Yeah, I like that terminology.
You like that? Okay.
Please get out. Get out of this property. Immediately get out. Get out of this property immediately. Out. I don't want to hear anything. Out of this property immediately. I don't want to hear a word. Out. Out. Out of this property immediately until you come back with a warrant. Out. 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 Out of this property. Immediately out. Immediately go out and don't come back. I don't want to talk to you. Not a word. Out of this property. Immediately out. I don't care what you have to say. Out! Out! Out of this property, you Nazis! Out! Out! Gestapo is not allowed.
Here we go.
Immediately, Gestapo is not allowed. Out! Do you understand English? Get out of this property. Go. So go. Go. And don't come back without a warrant. Out, Nazi. Out.
Out, Nazi.
Out, Nazi. So he gets them all outside, and he's got the whole congregation in tow with him. And you see these. This is great on YouTube. These police are just got the tails between their legs. They're they're defeated. They're walking away, and he keeps going at it.
Unbelievable, sick, evil people. Intimidating people in a church during the Passover. You Gestapo, Nazi, communists, fascists. Don't you dare coming back here. Can you imagine those psychopaths? Passover, the holiest Christian festival in a year, and they're coming to intimidate Christians during the holiest festival? Unbelievable. What is wrong with those sick psychopaths? It's beyond me. Wow. Wow. How dare they? How dare they? Sick people. Sick people.
Tell us how you really feel, author.
Well, he's got one more segment here. I forgot what else he has to say.
Unbelievable. We're living in a takeover, a total takeover of the government with their thugs, goons, the brown shirts, the Gestapo wannabe dictators coming to the church armed with guns and tasers and handcuffs to intimidate during Passover celebration. Well, I guess that's what it is. They want to enslave us all like the Egyptians did. They want to be pharaohs of today. That's what they're doing. Unbelievable. People, if you will not wake up, stand up, wow, I don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. If Canadians will not rise up, look what is happening in Germany. Germany is taken over by fascism again. The wannabe Hitlers are already ruling. You cannot even leave from one city to another. It's a total lockdown. If you will not be vaccinated like a dog or a cat, you will not be able to buy or sell. You will not be able to go to school or work. Is that the future you want? Is that what you want for your children and your grandchildren? Seriously, is that the future of Canada? That's the future of Canada? Wow. Unbelievable.
So
He's not wrong.
No.
It's not wrong at all.
So the police didn't just completely go away. They
never do.
No, they decided on a new approach. They were a little smarter the next time. They got him on the highway. This past week, apparently an order was served prior to the church service. The CPS.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that stands for. Canadian.
I don't know.
Protection, police service, something or other. They didn't enter the church during the service. The service organizer acknowledged the injunction, but chose to ignore requirements for social distancing, mask wearing, and reduced capacity limits for attendees, and continued with the event. Well, apparently he did his little, service, and then he was on the highway. And then there's, I don't know if you've seen this picture.
Mm-hmm.
He gets pulled over. Here's a couple more, 2 more segments here. The wind is pretty bad, so try to hear this, but they pull him out of here. They give him the warning. They pull him out of the car, and he refuses to. Well, let's do that first part. He's ordering him to get out of the car.
Right.
Hello, sir.
Gangsters are here.
So, as per the injunction that was served on Arthur here and David back here, I am to place both of them under arrest for breaching the Queen's Bench order.
Both of us under arrest.
Yes, sir. Would you please step out of the car?
What's your name, officer?
Andrews, 5244.
Okay.
So how do you feel being a Nazi now? Well, then we got a gangster here.
Yes, sir.
How do you feel being a Nazi and breaking the
Gestapo.
What's his officer? What's your name and number?
asking you.
Sorry?
What's your name and number, please?
5283 Constable Darwood.
A Nazi, a lawbreaker. You're breaking the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. How can you look in your mirror, man?
So I have advised both you and Mr. Pulaski over there that you guys are both under arrest. Please, if you would,
Dave,
step
can
on the
you
vehicle
hold
and
this?
comply.
Sure. Report this.
Okay. So it's actually kind of a startling video here. You can see him kneeling on the pavement on the highway, and the police are trying to arrest him. He won't stand up, and he's just basically saying, "Do it Nazi style. Just pull me,
Right.
throw me into the car." And that's what they did. It's actually quite shocking to see them hauling him.
I saw the video and it was disgusting. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's kind of windy, but
This is not communist China. Don't you guys have family and kids? Whatever happened to Canada? God keep our land glorious and free. What are they going to do when they come for your kids? Shame on you guys. You call yourselves Canadians? Man, where's your oath? Where's your honor? Where's your dignity? You guys aren't Canadian.
I hate her.
I think that's more Wisconsin, but okay.
Oh yeah, sorry. I've never been good with my accents.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That was a little.
It's a travesty.
It is a travesty.
Well, no, you're right. No, I mean, all jokes aside, yeah, it's. I think the thing is, if you're not going to play by their rules of their game, it means that you have to modify these religious ceremonies. They're obviously the first time somebody was actually filming it as well. I don't know if that made a difference as far as how they handled it, and he was able to kind of get him out of the church. But something like this, they're not going to stop with just the one time. The state's going to get their way ultimately.
Oh, ultimately, yeah, for sure.
As sad as it is to say,
man. Well,
yeah,
I'm exhausted already. It's always good to lighten up the mood here. Is breaking news from Baba, which is right in here. He always likes to lift us up. With whatever's going on in the world, you can count on Baba to cheer you up. Here's Baba. We'll be right back on the SmorgShow podcast.
This is Breaking Baba News live from Delhi. This was supposed to be the start of a new series where Baba discusses Hindi wedding traditions. But unfortunately, duty calls, and I must return to my investigative journalist role as India faces a nationwide crisis with COVID-19 running rampant once again. There are new calls for India's Prime Minister to implement a nationwide shutdown as COVID-19 spreads to a breakneck speed. The country on Saturday reported more than 4,000 deaths due to the virus, marking a new single-day high. The coronavirus is claiming lives faster than India can bury or cremate them, after it felt like the country had dodged a freight train. Last year, when the U.S. and much of the world were reeling from the pandemic, India was relatively unscathed. Prime Minister Narendra Modi took the credit, saying, "We saved mankind from a big disaster by saving our citizens from the pandemic." Defying warnings from the government's own scientists, the country opened up. Social distancing vanished at political rallies and religious gatherings, including on the Ganges River, thought to be the biggest super spreader event in history. Since February, infections have spiked. 200,000, 300,000, and now more than 400,000 cases in a single day, for a third day in a row, forcing makeshift crematories. Now the country is scrambling to provide vaccines and treatment, which is in short supply. Oxygen shortages have forced Indians to line up for hours, even days. Several states have announced stricter lockdowns as the government faces mounting pressure to restrict movements nationwide. Prime Minister Modi has been accused of doing too little and has left the responsibility for combating the virus to state governments. His government has said it is doing all it can in a once-in-a-century crisis. However, many in the medical expert field and opposition leaders are urging national restrictions, saying a patchwork of state rules is not enough to curb the surge in cases. Dozens of bodies have been washing up on the banks of the Ganges River as hospitals and crematoriums across India remain overwhelmed by the country's rampant second wave of COVID-19. At least 71 corpses washed up in the city of Buxar, adding that they were likely coming from India's most populous state, Uttar Pradesh. Unidentified bodies will be cremated as per the government's pandemic safety protocols. In this capital of Delhi, ashes of COVID-19 patients are going unclaimed, according to Reuters. Oh, is it Reuters? Sorry about that. A report by the Press Trust of India on Monday found that people are abandoning bodies of COVID-19 victims in fear of catching the infection themselves. India has opened vaccinations to all adults this month in attempt to contain the surge in cases. However, many Indian states have been seen shortages in vaccine stocks. India is administering 2 domestically manufactured vaccines, Covishield, made by the Serum Institute of India, and Covaxin, made by Bharat Biotech. Both companies have struggled to meet the increasing demand. However, a glaring hesitancy to get vaccinated remains apparent in India. The correct information about the vaccination is not reaching people via the government. And that is why there is a lack of trust factor, and many people are not registering for the vaccine. It is also worth noting that migrant workers and the poor were being overlooked in the country's vaccination attempts. These vaccines are only for the privileged people or the tech-savvy. But what about those people who don't have mobile telephones? Or how about those who do not have internet connections? How will they get the vaccine? These are the questions that Baba is asking, and these are the questions that no one is answering. This is Breaking Baba News, live from Delhi, with Baba Ganesh in lockdown once again, day 403.
You're listening to the SmorgShow podcast.
Well, so much for the levity.
Yeah.
I was expecting something a little bit more, or less, actually, to bring the tension down a little bit of the show.
And that ain't happening.
We haven't even gotten to the serious part of the show yet. That's what worries me. So I need to take this into my own hands. I'm taking this back. We're going to have some fun now, whether you like it or not, Jerry.
Okay.
We're going to play a new game here, but I am not going to tell you about it. Steve Charm is back. Remember Steve Charm?
Oh, yeah.
From the Get a Life days. He is back. Steve, tell us all about it. Hey. It's time to play America's most popular linguistic game. We like to call it Name That Tongue. Here's how the game works. It's actually quite simple. Our contestant will hear a 15-second audio soundbite of someone speaking another language. Once the time is up, our contestant will try to guess the language that was spoken. Our contestant will get 1 point for every correct answer. And that's really about it. There's no prize due to our recent budget cuts. Are you ready, America? Who wants to have fun? Are you sure? Okay then, let's tongue.
Let's tongue. I don't think so. I hardly know you.
Let's tongue, Jerry.
No way, dude.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right, so we're gonna play a game here. We're gonna start easy and we're gonna work our ways up. Now, Jerry, for those of you who don't know, or Jerome, sorry, actually, no, Jerome is your serious CCC identity.
CCC name. So
this
it's
is
Jerry.
This
now.
is lighthearted.
Jerry.
Let's bring Jerry in.
Yeah.
Jerry,
hey, everybody, it's Jerry.
We used to not make fun of you. We kind of poked fun at you because you knew so much.
You made fun of me.
Yeah,
Get
we
around.
did. Yeah, like, look at this guy. He used to
freaking nerd.
dazzle the college campus in my dorms with his knowledge of history, and I could give you any state right now and you tell me the capital. I could tell you any country and you tell me the capital.
Well, it used to be able to be like
yeah,
that.
maybe your mind isn't as sharp, but you used to know this fact. And you were like 17. It's like, Jerry, you must not have no social life. I mean, to be able to,
well, yeah, you're right. I didn't have a social life.
You knew so much.
Well,
so anyway, I thought, all right.
That's what happens when you don't have a social life. You start just opening books and reading. Remember, this is pre-internet, so.
Yeah, I know. You actually did some reading, but
I was that nerd at the library.
Yeah, you knew so much. And so anyway, I thought we would play this. And so I've got, I don't know how many we're going to go through here. I've got 15. I don't know if we'll do all 15, but let's work our way up. We'll start easy and see what you do. So we're going to play 15 seconds and you just let us know when you really want to chime in. Feel free to chime in early if you'd like.
Okay.
A right answer will sound like this. A wrong answer will give you this. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Or maybe if it's really bad.
I don't think you'll be using that one.
All righty. All right, here's the first one.
Ich trinke jeden Tag mehrere Tassen Tee. Für mich ist ganz wichtig, bei schwarzem Tee, es ist nicht gleich englischer Tee, wenn es schwarz ist, weil es muss richtig stark sein. Da tust du in englischen Tee, tust einen Teebeutel rein.
I know what this is.
Es ist wirklich, nach ein paar Sekunden ist es wirklich dunkelbraun.
Okay,
und da,
German.
Yeah. All right. 1 point for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, number 2.
Προχθές τελείωσα από τη δουλειά μου στη Σουηδία. Πήγα, κοιμήθηκα 1 ώρα. Μπήκα στο αεροπλάνο, ήρθα στην Ελλάδα. Εχθές είχα πάρα πολλές δουλειές και σήμερα ξύπνησα πάρα πολύ νωρίς το πρωί και είπα να περάσω να πιω ένα καφέ με τα παιδιά.
I would say that's Spanish, but that's Spanish as opposed to Spanish for like Mexico or something like that. I think it's Spanish.
It was actually Greek.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
See?
It's okay. Okay. So, all right. So you got 1.
I was never big on Greek.
Yeah.
Nothing again't Greeks. I'm just saying I just didn't really know it.
Yeah.
I don't know what your language sounds like.
I like their gyro. It's a nice, good sandwich.
C'est long. Mais pour...
we got French.
Okay. All right, number 2. All right. Here we go. I'm not keeping track. Next one.
ארוחות בכלל תהיינה דרומיות, וכאמור בלילה ארוחות יתחזקו במידה ניכרת. הים התיכון מחר נוח עד גלי, טמפרטורת המים בים התיכון ממשיכה להיות 18 מעלות. תראו את הטמפרטורות מחר, מחר 21 עד 25 מעלות.
Yeah, very good.
לאורך מישור החוף 27.
Achedi.
Yeah.
I got it, Achedi.
All right. Next one here.
No. I łowiłam ryby. I marynarz przygotowywał mi robaki. Był bardzo przystojny, piliśmy szampana. Mam taką piosenkę, największa miłość, najcięższy grzech, że to jeszcze przed nami. Związek się psuje wtedy, jak nie ma przyjaciół.
Polish.
Yeah.
I was starting, it was Slavic, and then I got to hear a little bit more, Polish.
They have a good sandwich, too. It's called the Polish.
Yeah. Who thought? A kielbasa, if you will.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Jak jimash.
What is that, number 5?
Good time.
Is that 4 or 5 you got so far? 4 out of 5?
Yeah.
Not bad. Okay, next
Sorry, Greeks.
Mednarodnega podiplomskega študija menedžmenta MBA. Ob tem so podelili častni doktorat profesorici Nancy Adler iz Kanade. Profesorica je ena izmed vodilnih strokovnjakinj na področju globalnega vodenja in pionirka na področju vključevanja umetnosti v poučevanje menedžerjev.
Well, it's another Slavic language.
Yeah.
I'm going to go maybe I think the obvious and say it's Russian.
Or
is it Ukrainian?
Slovenian.
Oh, well, yeah, forget it then.
Yeah.
That should be like a half.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of, just crossover there.
Slovenian, come on, man. All right, let's go. Okay. All right, that's, I guess,
Šiuo metu esu Kosove, Prištinoje ir dalyvauju seminaruose, Albanology Seminars vadinasi, apie albanų kultūrą, istoriją, kalbą, mokomės pagrindę.
I know that. It's the language of my people.
Exactly.
Lugans. Lithuanian.
Yes.
When I heard the kalba, I was like, oh, yeah. I knew that was Lithuanian.
Right up your alley. Okay.
Eesti keelt ei osanud väga ja sisseastumise eksamid olid eesti keeles ja oli vaja sisseastumise eksamiks pidi olema tehtud ajalooeksam ja mul oli koolis tehtud bioloogia, nii et mul pakuti võimalus teha koha peal homme kell 10 hommikul, aga eesti keeles.
Finnish?
No, it's Estonian.
Well, that's pretty close. They're actually very closely related. So, yeah, right, smart.
Mēs nezinājām, ka viņi ir bruņoti un 5. Tā janvāra beigās notikušo apšaudu Jēkabpilī atceras abi policisti, kurus ievainoja spēļu zāles Fēniks aplaupītāji, citi policisti. Pēc izrakstīšanas no slimnīcas ievainotie likumsargi atgūstas rehabilitācijas centrā
That's Latvian.
Really?
So I got the whole Baltic states there for you. All back to back, yeah.
Hold on, can you play the Latvian again?
Latvian? Okay, yeah.
Mēs nezinājām, ka viņi ir bruņoti un 5.
Okay.
I don't know, it kind of sounded a little Finnish to me for some reason, but okay, fine.
Okay. Well, that's level 2.
Okay.
Sorry. So, I don't know.
Oh, maybe it's going to get worse.
I lost track.
I told you.
Well, that's okay. This is hard. I couldn't do this. No, absolutely not. All right, here's the last level. I haven't even been keeping score, so it's the honor system.
God dang it.
All right.
I think it's 3 I've lost so far.
100,000 perniagaan dijangka mendaftarkan operasi masing-masing bagi pelaksanaan GST menjelang akhir tahun ini. Pelbagai persediaan awal diambil melibatkan setiap peringkat operasi syarikat. Antaranya memastikan perisian perakaunan syarikat diseragam dan dinaik taraf.
I'd be really surprised if you got it. It's Malay.
Oh yeah, no.
Okay.
I thought maybe India, which is kind of close. I mean, they're geographically kind of close, but no, I would have got that in a million years.
I think I'll do 2 more here.
گلکی خوشه از جویزمانی گلکی زحف زور حز دکم و دخوازم که روژه کی وره که اف قد غبون لسر وی رابه یعنی هر کس که کرد یعنی جی نکرد جی کار به ویزمانی فیر بنفسه و با آخوه لحر در
that last bit. Middle Eastern language?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Arabic?
Kurdish.
Oh, Kurdish. Okay. Well,
okay. Well,
one more?
Yeah, we'll do one more.
கீழ் உள்ள அனைத்து குடும்பங்களுக்கும் சிறப்பு நிதி உதவியாக 2000 ரூபாய் வழங்கப்படும் என்றார். இந்நிலையில் சட்டப்பேரவையில் பேசிய கன்னியாகுமரி திமுக உறுப்பினர் ஆஸ்டின் முதலமைச்சர் அறிவித்த திட்டம் எப்படி எப்போது செயல்படுத்தப்படும் என கேள்வி எழுப்பினார். அதற்கு பதிலளித்த முதலமைச்சர் எதிர்க்கட்சிகள் அது குறித்து
Well, I can't pinpoint, but this country I know it's in this country. It's an Indian language.
It's Tamil.
All right. There's like 14, 15 languages, major languages in India.
All right. All right. Well, thanks, Jerry. Thanks for playing along. Where's Steve Charm when you need him? I don't have those pipes. That was a train wreck.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very good. Nice job.
I thought I would do better, actually.
All right.
Thank you.
The crowd loves you.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Very much.
That's Elvis. That's I'm speaking Elvis language.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that Malay. Yeah, I never got that one.
So I guess we're in the second half of the show, or the third, and so Van Morrison is back in the news.
Okay.
If you recall, at the end of last year, he put out a bunch of anti-coronavirus lockdown protest songs.
Right.
And he had issued a couple of tweets around this saying, those who are shutting down our economy haven't missed a paycheck since lockdown began. We are not in this together, he tweeted in December. In a separate tweet, he added 10 months on, and the Northern Ireland executive still hasn't presented the science for the Northern Ireland lockdown. In September of last year, Morrison released 3 songs blasting the world's government's lockdown policies. In November, Morrison teamed up with fellow legend Eric Clapton for Stand and Deliver, another attack song on lockdowns. So now he's got this new album, which I actually have here on vinyl.
Uh-oh. Going old school, huh?
I did. Feel the weight of this thing.
Ah! My wrist, it hurts.
It's a weapon.
Yeah, you could kill somebody with this.
So he wrote this in lockdown, 28 songs, three record set.
Well, I mean, you got a lot of time in lockdown, don't you?
Yeah.
He's
got a lot to say.
It definitely does.
But he's getting a lot of criticism from a lot of left-leaning blogs and publications.
Well, are we surprised?
So one of his songs is, and actually I'll play a little bit of it. So he attacks everything from corporate media to social media to millennial culture to people who are hiding behind their computer screen saying, certain things, but they're anonymous, so it's okay to do something, but they're not actually doing anything. Where Have All the Rebels Gone is one of the songs,
Well, there are no rebels. They're just people who are professionally offended.
Yeah, professionally offended. He's got a song called They Control the Media, which apparently has wakened the big giant, and they're really coming after him. Let's play a little bit of this.
They tell us that ignorance is bliss. I guess for those that control the media it is. They own the media, they control the stories we are told. If you ever try to go against them, you will be ignored, 'cause they control the narrative, they perpetuate the myth. Keep on telling you lies, tell you ignorance is bliss. Believe it all and you'll never get wise to the truth, 'cause they control everything you do.
So latest album is called Latest Record Project Volume 1. It's a 2-hour, 28-track album. Doesn't include the protest songs from late last year. But here's a couple of things that the Variety magazine talking about this song. Actually, no, they don't talk about this song. They just say that
the album itself.
Well, this song, They Own the Media. The album that's come under fire because They Own the Media is accused of mirroring a common anti-Semitic trope. Although he leaves unspoken who the media controlling they are in the lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
But they say his recent tracks have often been invoked in the same breath as tinfoil hat.
Mm-hmm.
Rolling Stone, latest record project is a delightfully terrible study in casual grievance. Morrison's new record bears a strange resemblance to the unhinged, rambling feel of the pandemic-era internet. More often than not, its 28 tracks come across as a collection of shit posts, subtweets, and Reddit rants set to knock off John Lee Hooker grooves.
Well, that's pretty dismissive.
Yeah, I think so. This is how modern-day blacklisting works.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've got all these left-wing artists that release songs every bit as blatantly political as these songs are, but they don't have any problem with that because...
Well, it's the narrative that they want to push.
Yeah.
And when I mean they, the media. But when I say they own the media, we can take out any... Because you know what they like to do?
Yeah.
When they use that particular... Because they want to set up a straw man that they can attack instead of actually attack, or not even attack, but address what Van Morrison's saying, oh, they control the media. That means he must be anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
No, he never said anything about any particular group other than the fact that there is obviously, or at least it seems, there's sort of a particular cabal or a a group of, basically globalist-minded people who have an agenda, and they've put it out in the media, and they control the media.
Yeah.
And so if somebody's saying you're controlling it, and I have no say because I'm being ignored, and it's true. I told you when I talked to you earlier, when I said to you that if you control the narrative, if you really control what's in the news, you control society. You control how it works, because most people, unfortunately, I think the number of people who are becoming aware, and are starting to ask questions is growing quite a bit. But there's still so many people. If it comes out in the official news, an official news source would be USA Today, the network news, CNN, Fox, whatever. They go with it. Say, yeah, sure, it must be true, and they don't really go and do any sort of outside research or they don't care, because they just. And so if you can control what those major outlets are doing and saying, you control most people's minds.
Yeah. It's just amazing. It's amazing how quickly they descend. The album had just come out, and all of a sudden, all of these, they're all together.
Well, that's the thing. Here again, that's to talk about the way that they're attacking him and his album is actually proof of what he's saying.
Yeah, it's after 50 years, this is his 42nd studio album, and there's probably, 10 or 15 live and compilation albums. After 50 years, he's now all of a sudden this bigot with no talent, a crazy tinfoil hat wearer, dangerous. He's off his rocker. He's uninformed. He's dangerous all of a sudden. It's now they got to attack him.
Well, that's the thing it seems to be now. If you do not push the mainstream narrative, you are considered dangerous. You are considered a threat to society. I mean, before it used to be a thing where if you had a different point of view, you could say, well, I disagree with it, and I don't know if that's really how I would see society or whatever, but you've got the right to have your own opinion, and then, you can go your way and I'll go mine, as long as we don't, do any really damage to people or each other. I mean, that was the thing, it would be like the Voltaire statements, I may not agree with you what you say, but I defend to the death your right to say it.
Right to say it, yeah.
We don't have that anymore. It's the consensus that's set by whoever they are, and that's it.
Yeah. And then I won't go into this, but there was another publication. I don't know if it was Rolling Stone or Variety, I don't know who it was, but they published the top 10 of the craziest lyrics from the latest album. I mean, everything from "They control everything you do," plan to start meeting in the forest, "Mind control keeps us in line," "Why are you on Facebook?" Oh yeah, that was always. Why are you on Facebook? Do you need secondhand friends? Why do you really care who's trending? Or is there something you're defending? Are you looking for a scapegoat to blame because you're a failure time and time again?
Or is there something you're defending?
So he's all of a sudden this right wing or whatever. How are they making him out to be now? But that was the thing about rock and roll in the 60s, if I remember. Being able to call out the establishment, the man, the controlling forces, challenging them.
Well,
that was a thing, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. It absolutely was a thing. The funny thing about this, if we go back probably 20 years ago, nobody who was in rock and roll, I mean, as far as at least on the edge of rock and roll, I don't know. Maybe I'm kind of. I guess what I'm trying to say is that the rebel mindset was much more up center and prominent, and you basically didn't just sing the songbook of whatever the government or the major corporations were saying. Matter of fact, there was this thing back in the day where it was called selling out. So so that if you basically kind of went along and did what the powers that be wanted you to do, you were selling out. So you were not being true to the rock and roll ethos, which was basically, shining a light on abuse of power and shining a light on just
Who's doing that anymore?
No one's doing that anymore, and it's been that way for quite a while. But I kind of blame it on the kind of American Idol society that we have, because basically now, I mean, if you're looking at, I mean, I was watching this, and I don't know if we talked about it last time, but I was watching a video. Well, yeah, it was a live concert thing for Miley Cyrus, or I like to call her Miley Virus. She's poisoning so many young minds, but But the thing is, it was both the most repulsive and yet the most surreal thing I've ever seen, because it was her running around on stage pretending she was a rock star, which she's never been anything close to that. I mean, there's nothing really rock and roll about her at all. She's just posing that way, you know, because just because you put on some leather pants and you get a shag haircut or whatever the heck that thing she was wearing, does not make you a rock star. It does not make you edgy rock and roll. And the thing is, it's so edgy in rock and roll that the entire audience was like one or two people in each of these socially distant squares.
Yeah.
That they can shake their little booties. and to Miley on stage. And, everybody's, on the stage, even though they seem to be pretty distant, they're all wearing masks except for her. And this is somehow supposed to be the cutting edge of what's going on these days. And it's like, if this is the cutting edge, then obviously we can say that rock and roll and the rock and roll ethos of rebellion,
it's dead.
It's gone. It's done. It's been gone. And I think it's been gone for a while, actually.
Yeah.
And you're just seeing its rotting remains. And then somebody like Morrison, who still remembers those times, when people would stand up and say, this is BS. And they write down a song and say, oh, you're a cranky old right-wing conspiracist, white supremacist, blah, 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 blah. And they have like all the different terms. They just got them. Yeah. It's like a real Rolodex, if you will.
And they're all using them the same. All of them are using the same ones.
And that's it. And all of these, like with Rolling Stones has been pretty worthless.
It's been dead for 30 years.
At least. And so, so somebody like Van Morrison, who's asking questions that regular people are asking about the lockdown, about mask, about you can't even ask the question anymore, or the cancel culture, all this stuff that's going on, and people are. I talk to people left and right, and they're asking questions about these things, and they're concerned or whatever. I mean, there are certain people like where I work, and I think I remember sending you a message about it where I was at work and I was overhearing a conversation between two coworkers who worked in the youth department. I work at a library in the suburbs of Chicago, and the two women that worked in the youth department are having a discussion about, I think it was some sort of online fan group for some Disney, Star Wars or whatever, something like that. And they were talking about how they wanted that their particular fan group was for people who were female identifying.
Yes.
So that right there is like my ears started.
Yeah, I know that's a trigger word for you.
And then they
triggered.
And then they were talking about it could be transgender and blah blah blah, and they were using all these catchphrases and terms. And then they said, but they wanted to exclude men because they didn't want that sort of toxicity in their.
Oh, of course not.
In their group. So it's like I'm there as a guy listening to this. It's like, oh, so the very aspect of me being male comes with toxicity. Automatically, it seems.
Yeah.
With this insane society that we're finding ourselves in. That's why we do have a meltdown going on. Because everything that we understood as being normal and natural is being flipped on its head. Intentionally, by the way, I would say.
So I'm dialing us down.
Thank you.
Just dialing us down. Here's a little rain outside now, just to match the day that we're having right now.
Except when you play it, it makes me want to go to the bathroom.
I know. We're not pausing this again.
No.
Oh, hold it down. So we could actually end this show now and we would have a complete episode, but should we just keep going?
Well, that really depends on you. It's your show.
Well,
or we could do a two-parter.
I don't like to play rank like that.
Well, I could go on because we still have plenty of things we could talk about, but the thing is, it's going to be a lot of topical stuff of what's going on, because let's be honest, what you're seeing right now is like unprecedented in our history as far as just the level and the number of social changes that are literally happening. It used to be like it would happen from year to year. Now it's like literally happening week to week, sometimes even day to day. All these kind of like, I mean, I remember one time you sent me a meme and it was like urging men to go to sit down when they went to go to the bathroom in number one, and in what was it, in solidarity of trans men because they can't use urinals like regular men can. I guess. Right. It's like, okay, and so that's just one tiny example of just a literal flood between the COVID-19 fear mongering and all of these flipping on our head of basically what we took as norms, not even just 10 years ago. I don't know. It's very challenging. These are very challenging times.
Actually, sorry to loop back on an earlier topic we talked about tonight. I forgot to play one thing. Back to the commencement ceremony.
Yeah.
There was a flub. It's subtle, but there's a flub. I picked up on it, and I have it right here.
Go ahead.
Listen how this person is announced, because they're announcing the students as they come and get their diploma.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, listen to this guy.
I'm relaxed now.
Sorry, I had to stop that. Okay, here we go.
No.
Where is it, actually? Oh, here we go.
Bradley John Burton, MAGA, magna cum laude.
Did you hear that?
Sounded good to me.
MAGA cum laude. I'm sure he was lectured afterwards.
Bradley John Burton, MAGA, magna cum laude.
Oops. Oops. Not allowed on this campus.
Yeah, I bet you somebody wrote it out like that, and he's just reading it. And when he was done, he's like, "Oh my God, what did I just say?"
Oh, that was fantastic.
By the way, I was surprised that pastor during the commencement didn't end his prayer with "a man and a woman."
Yes, a women. We
want to be inclusive now, and should you be a non-gendered?
Yes. So good news, Jerry. They came out with a new CDC guidelines this week. Yay! 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 We can all get back to normal living, right?
No!
So anyone who is fully vaccinated can participate in indoor or outdoor activities, large or small, without wearing a mask or physical distancing.
I've been doing that all along, so I don't know what the big deal is.
Yeah, if you're fully vaccinated, you can start doing things that you had stopped doing because of the pandemic. We've all longed for this moment when we came back to some sense of normalcy. So a week ago, you couldn't do these things.
Even if you had the vaccine.
You had the vaccine, you still had to wear a mask because the CDC said that was what was safe. But a week later, here's an example of people not being able to critically think. A week ago, what's changed? Either they were wrong then or they're wrong now. They can't be right in both situations, unless they claim that there was some sort of research that was done, but I highly doubt it. I think this is purely political. They started to realize that there was a backlash of seeing our leaders wearing masks after they were vaccinated and saying, what's the point? If I have to continue wearing a mask, why should I get vaccinated?
Well, yeah, basically that was it, because it's like, you see, I think a lot of these psychopaths.
You psychopath!
Nazi Gestapo!
Nazi Gestapo! Get out of this property!
Get out of my life! But seriously, they're such control freaks, these people at the top. They really are. And one of the things is that they wanted... I know this is probably going to sound a little controversial to say this, but this is something I heard some guy on YouTube on one of his channels say, that basically a lot of these politicians, they get off on the rush of power. Plus, they get off on kind of the bondage aspect of it. I know that sounds a little crazy now. I'm a little crazy, and I admit it. But you put the mask.
You're the CCC.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I am, so I can go for it. They're wearing masks, and that kind of shows there's a show of power there, and there's a show of like keeping people under wraps and keeping them in their place. It's like, you have to wear the mask because you're causing problems. You're danger if you don't wear the mask. Oh, shame. And people did that, and they've gone along with it. Matter of fact, there's too many people going along with too much stuff too easily.
Yeah.
During this whole thing, and so the thing is, what they didn't account for is that actually some people would actually like put 2 and 2 together finally, and it's like, okay, you're all because they want what they want is to have us all get shot up with vaccines and then still have the mask thing, because then it'll be that kind of like their measure of power over us. I really do believe that a lot of these people at the top of CDC, in the government, all that, they dig this and they like that.
Yeah.
So the thing is, it had come to bite them in the butt, because people were saying, well, if I got to do all this stuff I was doing before, distance and keep the mask on and all the stuff that, of course, like I said these guys like for us to do, it worked against them, because they say, well, I'm not going to get the vaccine, because if I have to act the same way as I did before I get the vaccine, why do this? And so it's like, oh, wait a minute, if we keep on pushing this, we're not going to be able to push the vaccine. All right, if you're vaccinated, you're cool, good to go. But this points to another problem, and I think you'll be bringing it up.
I hope so.
Well, I'll call it what it.
Go ahead.
It will lead to what I call mask apartheid. In other words, it'll be a 2-tier system. If you
we're getting there. We're getting there. Hold that
Okay.
thought. So there's a study now that's saying that there's vaccine skepticism soaring based on heightened government hype and steps to hide unwelcome data.
Mm-hmm.
In the United States, many who are willing to be vaccinated early on have had second thoughts recently. The Centers of Disease Control and Prevention reports that more than 5 million Americans and counting have received a first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, and they're skipping the appointments for the second.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Over the past month, Americans' average acceptance of 3.3 million daily doses has plummeted to under 2 million, with no sign of the free fall ending. The 115 million already fully vaccinated were easy gets. You know, they were guaranteed to get them right on. So you saw this immediate spike. It's like, oh, compliance. Everybody's now it's sort of like plateaued a little bit, and they're like, how are we going to get to that 70% for herd immunity?
Well, if they had listened to certain experts at the very beginning of this pandemic and had basically acted like Sweden had, they probably could have naturally gotten to the level of herd immunity without having to result to all these vaccines. But since I think this is a big payday for Big Pharma, and Big Pharma has its hands in big government.
Yeah. Cheerleading for vaccines by virtually the whole of the medical establishment and mainstream press hasn't been able to turn the tide. Neither has widespread censorship by social media of anyone who questions the efficacy or safety of COVID-19 vaccines, or an unprecedented U.S. government outreach aimed at winning over skeptics.
Well, they're going to have a lot of skeptics going into the future. I think they've kind of done damage that they're not going to be able to fix.
I think they overstepped themselves. If anybody, people are starting to question, why isn't there anybody that's able to challenge it,
right,
without being shut down?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, again, if you have all coming from one, whether it be social media, or people control social media, people control the news media, the entertainment media, government, and they're all singing from the same songbook. Even somebody who's, I mean, there are still a lot of really stupid people in the world. That's a given. But there's going to be a pretty big section of the populace that are going to say, that's not adding up. And to me, and I've said this to people at work, and I've said it around, that basically when you're dealing with the mainstream media, the mainstream narrative, I call it Pravda. And now you say, well, why do you call it Pravda? And I'll explain it.
You know exactly why.
Pravda was the newspaper of the Soviet Union Communist Party. It was they had like one or two other papers, but it was the main one. And that's, if you wanted to know what the government thought about an issue, you went to Pravda, because, in other words, there was no other narrative other than what was put in that paper. That, it would be basically our idea, and that's it. There is no arguing it. There's no like, well, I heard this other side of the story. It's like, no, this is it. This is what we're going with. Shut up. And that's what's going on now. You have one narrative. Everybody's pretty much, except for people here like Van Morrison, whoever, that are challenging it and saying, hey, this doesn't really add up to anything. And it's becoming kind of obvious. So everybody's just like Pravda newspaper. Back in the day, communist propaganda, if you will. Anyway, I'm sorry.
So did you happen to look more into that, what is it called? The Immuniband? Oh, so
yeah.
my point is, before sort of the transition point to this topic, is now that they've been able to say, okay, those who are fully vaccinated can go about their normal lives, indoor, outdoor, without wearing masks. Therefore, they don't say it, those who are not vaccinated must continue with masks.
Right.
So now you're going to see a separation of the wheat and the chaff.
Yeah, well, yeah, the wheat and chaff. Of course, so
you're going to be able to identify those who are marching along one path versus another. And so what does that mean for
the people who are still wearing the masks?
Right. And so now we've seen this thing called the Immuniband.
Yeah. Hold on a second.
So
bring it up.
Is that going to start screening us? Like if we go into stores and they ask us to show our card, show us proof that you've been vaccinated, where are the legal limits of that? Where are the HIPAA laws? Who's really entitled to seeing my medical history?
Well, there's the thing. We've been told all these years, we can't talk about that. That's a medical issue. That's protected. That's private. Well, now with this whole thing with who's got the vaccine, who doesn't, and you have to show it if you can, go around without wearing a mask, or all those HIPAA laws you might as well just throw them out. You've just basically made them all null and void, because now you have to declare your status, medical status on a particular thing, and at that point, all the rest of it can just go out the window, because if you can't even protect that bit of privacy over whether you got a vaccination or not. By the way, like you were saying earlier, we didn't go around asking, did you have a TB shot? Did you have the Asian flu shot? No. We didn't go on that. But now we do, because COVID is so much different, so much more dangerous. You know that there was I think it was the Asian flu that came around in the late 50s in the United States, claimed more than 300,000 lives.
Right. They don't talk about that.
No, they don't talk about that. And you got to remember, back then there was less than 200 million people living in this country.
Yes, the percentage-wise was.
So it would have been comparable to what you have today. Never shut any. Well, they may have had some small lockdowns, but generally speaking, they didn't have any national lockdowns or state lockdowns or anything like that. Now you've had all these lockdowns, you've had all this stuff going on, and the fact of the matter is, I see the COVID-19 vaccination thing is kind of a Trojan horse to greater breaching of privacy of the average citizen. I just see that as the next step that they're going to use. Smooth.
Sorry, Jerry just brought some of the peanut butter whiskey.
Squirrel.
It's
extra nutty.
Wow, that's potent stuff. Man.
I'll have to try.
Sorry. I tried to get that down before without making any noise this time. I went from a smooth strawberry cheesecake beer to this whiskey. And, hey, sorry. I don't know where you were going with that.
No, but just going back to saying that this, and this kind of goes back and ties in with the Immunoband thing, because there's a product out there right now called Immunoband. I'm gonna have to look it up on the internet here.
It's a bracelet with a QR code. It's got your medical history that you could upload to this website, right? And
more specifically, the medical history is specific to the
virus,
the
vaccination.
So
and then they ship it to you.
Mm-hmm. Once you give them the information that you have been vaccinated.
Because I guess the theory is that eventually they're going to have an app on your smartphone, and you can go into, let's just go down a year from now, Walmart they'll hire somebody at the door, some $15 an hour part-time employee, asking you to show your proof of vaccination to enter the store, and you have to show a card, or more conveniently, Either on your
smartphone
or your wrist.
Oh yeah, the immunoband.
So this just opens up a lot of questions and concerns about the legal aspects of this.
Right. I just say this whole thing just smacks of a very heavy Orwellian, dystopian future. I mean, it's future. Yeah, we're kind of.
If you want to make,
Go ahead.
If you want to make a connection to the whole debate about voter ID and voter suppression, black community, and you got this thing going on, you've got a large percentage of the black community who's very skeptical of healthcare, government, and all of that sort of thing. And now you're going to be asking them to do this as well. How is that different from voter ID? Well, I mean, there's differences, but if you want to talk about the argument for pushing this versus being against this for those reasons.
Well, part of the reason was, and I thought the reasoning for not doing voter ID was in itself kind of racist, because it was basically saying
they don't know how to figure out how to get to the.
They can't. They don't have access to the internet.
They don't know how to use the internet.
You can't get to the DMV. They can't get to places where they actually. It's like, are there more crippled black people in the world out there than I know about, or something? Because as far as I know, most black people, especially I think the ones that are interested in voting, know how to get their ID. They know how they can get on the internet. They are not helpless children, and this is what you get to hear. This is the weird thing with the leftist thinking, I have to say, and this seems to be coming really more from the left than anywhere else, is that they, in the very people that they're trying to help, they're just turning around and infantilizing them and making them more helpless in the name of helping them.
Yeah.
Which is completely, well, not only is it hypocritical, but it doesn't make not even a lick of sense.
I saw a video recently. It was one of those, I don't know if it was Will Witt from PragerU or it was Crowder. Somebody went on the street and they went to.
It was in Harlem, right?
Yeah, it was in Harlem. Who was that?
Oh, I forget his name, but it wasn't Crowder, but it was somebody, probably I think from PragerU or something.
Somebody like that. They were interviewing,
and they were asking him. They're asking, "Do you have an ID? Do you know where to get the ID?"
Yeah, it's at Filth and Wells. I know where the DMV is. It's Fifth and Wells. They know exactly.
Everybody pretty much was on.
Do you know how to use the internet? Yeah, of course I do.
Yeah, look at my smartphone. I'm on it right now.
Yeah, I know. They're like, it was almost like they had never heard the argument before that.
Yeah, well, basically, when they were told the argument, said, "That kind of sounds a little racist to me."
Yeah, I know. It's like, of course I know how to figure this out.
Yeah, I mean, again, the people that would be that marginalized, they're probably got bigger problems on their hands, whether or not they're going to be voting or not, because they may have. I mean, if you're in that bad of a situation, you're probably dealing with heavier problems than. I mean, an average working, middle class, working class black person in this country has all with wherewithal and resources to get things like ID and to get information about voting.
Yeah, they say that, oh, well, it's a hardship to have to, pay for the ID. It's like, okay, well, there are actually states that are saying, we're going to give you a free ID. Okay, what's your argument now? Well, it's difficult to get one because they're out in the rural area. Well, they have a home in the rural area. How do they get a home without an ID? They got a mortgage. They're doing rent.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
if you're renting a place, you don't think they don't ask for ID?
They've got an ID already.
If they own a house, you don't think in order to sign the contract for the mortgage, they didn't need an ID?
Yeah.
If they own a gun, do you think they didn't need ID to get the gun? I mean, you have no problem with people saying, you got to have ID to get a gun. You got to have a background check to get a gun. Oh my God, it's terrible. All right, well then, why for something as simple as voting? We're not even asking for background checks or anything. Just you get a driver's license or a state ID that says, "Hey, this is me. This is my picture. This is my signature. This is my basic information." Okay, we see you're on the list. See your ID. What is the rocket science about it? Where is the insidious Ku Klux Klan conspiracy to keep black people from voting here? Because I don't see it.
This is another example of, okay, let's just say there's 1% of the people out there that don't have ID. I mean, let's use that as a starting point.
Okay.
I don't know how you function without an ID, but you got 1%. This is an example of, we have a solution to deal with the 1%. but they're causing it to be projected on the other 99%. We can't do anything because this 1% is going to be disenfranchised. We got a solution for that 1%. Where was I going with this? Well, I was just saying.
Well, no, but I mean, the other corollary argument I think you would hear from, especially from the, I think more so the Democratic Party, though maybe both at this point, but the Democratic Party basically saying that, this is, a problem that you also be marginalizing Hispanic people. Again, if you're a legal resident of this country or you're a citizen or whatever, born here, well, first, if you're a legal resident, you can't vote anyway. But if you're a legal citizen, then again, getting these IDs and verifying is not the thing. Is I think that certain people within, let's say, the Democratic Party like the idea of a lot of undocumented people going and showing up and voting, and because they can sway those votes, and then it could always mean larger victories for the Democratic Party.
That's really the reason.
I think so. I mean, it seems pretty obvious to me, but then I guess we're a bunch of white supremacists.
So the last thing I have here is the whole situation with the gas, and I haven't really had a chance to research this.
Oh, by the way, can I just throw a little something?
Yeah.
In here, going back to Van Morrison, you forgot to mention that there's another kind of outspoken. Well, you actually did mention a little bit. Eric Clapton.
Eric Clapton, yeah.
I ran across a news story where he was talking about he ended up getting the vaccine. He got the AstraZeneca vaccine, and he got both doses. And basically his quote, and I'll get the quote here, was, if I can get, let me get back over to, because I was on the Immunoband website.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But it was, basically he's saying, I wish I never got close to that needle, because he was having adverse reactions, and that again his second reaction after his second injection actually caused his hands to be kind of useless.
Wow.
Which, if somebody who's a guitar player, that's a problem. That's a big problem.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to bring that little snippet in there.
Yeah, they keep lumping Eric Clapton in with Van Morrison as like the two main outspoken artists against.
Well, there are other ones. There was one guy from Oasis, the big band in the 80s. Yeah. 90s, I'm sure, and 90s, he's very much. I think I don't know if it's Noel Lyle. I think it's Lyle Gallagher. One of Liam Gallagher.
Liam Gallagher.
I think or was it Noel Gallagher? One of the two. Actually, there's kind of split. One is totally like pro all that stuff, and the other one's saying.
Oh, really? They're brothers?
Yeah, they're brothers. They're the kind of they were the nucleus of the group. They ended up splitting. But anyway, so one's kind of been pro all that stuff, and the other one's saying no, I'm not going to get a vaccine. No, I think the lockdown's ridiculous, and been very outspoken about it. There was another kind of British singer who's kind of big deal, but he's also been against it. But there's not been a lot. Most, everyone. I mean, I thought it was kind of sickening when I saw Dolly Parton just kind of grinning it up when she was getting her vaccine, and I think she owns. I think she's got Moderna stock.
Oh wow.
Or Pfizer. I'm not sure which one. One of those two big.
Yeah.
And so it was like, oh well, I can see why you're promoting the vaccine. So I mean, it's sad, but it is what it is, I guess. So you had one of your gas.
Gas. I mean, what's going on the East Coast right now is crazy.
Shortage,
it's like Virginia is at $6.99 a gallon. North Carolina, it's like it's out of control. Now DC itself is completely there's no gas. Well, they got a lot of wind up in DC, I hear.
Yeah, a lot of wind power there.
A lot of wind power, a lot of hot gas.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But not gasoline.
So what actually happened? I guess the FBI, CIA kind of overlooked this one. They were too busy focused on checking out photographs of who was in D.C. on January 6th or looking at pronoun issues within the agencies.
Yeah.
And they overlooked the cyber attack of the Colonial Pipeline.
Yeah, by a group called DarkSide.
DarkSide. Wasn't there something like ransomware? There was like a $5 million.
Yeah.
Who paid that?
I think Colonial Pipeline did actually pay that $5 million in Bitcoin.
Oh.
So it wasn't worth anything in the end anyway.
What's going on, man?
Well,
come on, man.
The CC. You want the CCC opinion?
Yes,
on this?
I would like the CCC opinion. That's what I hire you for.
Well, yeah, right. Well, I would say this is kind of the shape of things to come. In other words, what I found out, I had saw some information on the internet where the World Economic Forum. If you don't know about them, there's a guy named Klaus Schwab who talks. He talks like a James Bond villain. And with a very thick, stereotypical German accent.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, and he was saying, that the COVID vaccine and the COVID-19 is very important. But anyway, that guy, he's
Sure.
saying that the next big thing that's going to happen is cyber pandemics. Forget about the COVID-19 pandemic.
Oh man.
Cyber pandemic, and it said it will spread faster and be more devastating than the COVID, as far as social impact will be more devastating than the COVID-19 pandemic.
Oh yeah.
So we're kind of getting the first taste with this attack on the pipeline on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But he's saying it's a big issue, and right now there is a group or a project that's part of the World Economic Forum called Cyber Polygon, and they're doing a a simulation of a possible major cyber attack, cyber pandemic, if you will, and they've done that. Now the funny thing is, what a lot of people don't know about that just before, about 5 to 6 months before the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a simulation of a major coronavirus outbreak that was did to run through, kind of like an exercise, if you will, at the Johns Hopkins University, and it was called Event 201, and I think it was just interesting that they did this run through of a possible virus outbreak, and then less than half a year later, here comes the virus outbreak. Now they're doing this run through of this cyber pandemic or this cyber attack, and I'm just saying, 5-6 months from now, what are we going to see? I know that may be too spicy, that may be a little but I got to throw it out there.
The FBI and the CIA have one purpose. They have one job: to protect our way of life.
Well, to protect the country, yeah.
The fastest way to unravel that, the most effective, deadly, and destructive way, is to interrupt the free flow of oil, which just happened. I mean, everything, our livelihood, everything that is done is through energy.
Right.
It's the most important natural resource in the world. Without it, we have no light, we have no food, we have no hospitals, heat, air conditioning, any way of making a living. Everything is tied to the price of oil as far as transportation, food. We're starting to see a shortage of lumber. Home Depot stock just tanked last week.
Well, it's not just specifically oil, but I mean, imagine a cyber pandemic that hits the energy grid of this country.
Yeah.
I mean, it starts shutting down, especially if it starts shutting down nuclear facilities.
Oh yeah. Now, if you're talking about this infrastructure plan that Congress is ticking around with now, or the Green New Deal or whatever, there's nothing in there talking about the protection of our grids or existing. I mean, that's like the core foundation. Like you said, without that, game over. This country is over. We can live so many lives.
We're back to the 1800s.
They said if we were to lose our power grids today, total shutdown, which could be done through that electromagnetic pulse.
That's one way, yeah.
30 days is all we have
before complete
food supply.
Yeah.
Gone. 30 days.
Yeah, that's pretty.
That is more frightening than anything else that we've had to deal with up until this point.
So I'd say if you haven't, you better build yourself a little survival pantry and put.
My mom did that back in right after. Was it 9/11?
Yeah.
Probably. No. It was Y2K. That's right.
Oh yeah.
Everybody was saying you got to start building that fallout shelter because everything's going to shut down.
Well, I mean, I didn't go that far. I did take some of the advice that was put out by the White Cross, the Red Cross. The White Cross. Sorry,
Cancel.
Sorry. Oh God, what's wrong with me? But anyway, the Red Cross and some of these other organizations saying, you know what, maybe stock on a little extra water, a few more cans of food,
Yeah.
just in case. I did that,
Uh-huh.
and people laughed at me, but it's like I'm only doing what the freaking Red Cross is saying in Y2K. Maybe be prepared, and I'm telling you now, being prepared for what might come with a cyber pandemic that these folks who were talking about the coronavirus pandemic, or worried about it earlier. Well, maybe you should pay attention to that, and maybe be ready for something like this. Because I think if the coronavirus, 2020 and the coronavirus pandemic and with the riots and all, have not shown us that our way of life or our normal can be like stopped like that.
Oh yeah.
It could be literally. I mean, I went from a
Yes.
time when the riots started happening, where I was going to get on a train, get to work, and this was during the pandemic, so you still had, but still, there was you could get the train. Once the riots started happening, I had to find an Uber to get to work because the trains would not. They stopped running for 3 days.
Yeah.
So if something like just some riots in the city can stop major transportation, imagine things like running out of gas or power plants going, and imagine the number of people that just will die automatically who are like in hospitals, especially when the generators run out of power. They have the emergency generators. They have like X amount of, and usually they're run on gas.
Yeah.
So when that runs out, people are gonna die. Hey, and I'm happy now.
Hey, how you doing, everybody? SmorgShow podcast, the podcast you've heard so much about.
Oh God.
So the government has issued a warning.
Yes.
Because of all the hoarding that's going on right now on the East Coast on the gas.
Mason jars full of gas.
Warning Americans not to fill plastic bags with gas during the fuel shortage. This is here's a tweet from the U.S. Consumer Protection Product Safety Commission. Do not fill plastic bags with gasoline. And you have to see the image that I came up with for this episode. It is all the topics we've talked about. It's a collage of just madness. And one is this woman filling up her hamper. Actually, no, I don't think I used that one. Of a plastic bag, I think she's just filling up with the gas. She's like, but there's actually a woman with a hamper, like one of those clothes, but it's got holes, like the holes in the side. She's filling the gas.
And it's going out the sides.
It's going out the sides. It's crazy. This is why the government has to intervene, because there's madness out there, Jerry. It's madness. It's crazy.
It's not madness. It's a very old concept that's been around since the beginning of mankind. Stupidity. There's so many stupid people out there. Could I even go into the fact that it's actually, this came out like a year or two before the pandemic hit, where they had a study came out that showed that there are literally millions upon millions of people around the world who have no internal dialogue in their head. They have no voice in their head. So they literally have to, whatever they think, they have to write it out because they can't think. Well, there you go. So if you've got that issue, and then just the regular human stupidity, as Albert Einstein once said, there's only two things that are infinite: the universe and human stupidity. And I'm not so sure about the universe.
The universe. On a final note, a lighter note, Jeopardy winner Kelly Donahue has been accused of flashing the white power sign on TV. No, not that one. Here we go. Who knew? Who knew that there was a white supremacy symbol? I never knew about this.
Your hand over your heart is considered a white supremacist?
Well, here it is.
Wait a minute. What's wrong with one of his...
Okay, so that was the number of times he won. 3 times.
Oh.
So he was publicly blasted by people who insisted he had flashed the white power hand gesture on television.
Oh, I get it. Because the hand if you look at the
Yeah.
three digits there,
Yeah.
that means it looks like a W, which means white. Yeah, I get it. I get what these morons.
He won
are
3
trying to say.
episodes of Jeopardy and was just waiting for his moment to send a signal to fellow white supremacists, according to The Hollywood Reporter, who wants him to apologize publicly for this. Who knew that there was a white supremacy symbol? I didn't know. So many wasted years.
Right, I could have been flashing my I could have been flashing my Aryan Brotherhood friends all these time, and I didn't. Oh man,
unbelievable. So I don't know where the story goes, but that's Meltdown.
Yeah.
So there we go.
My head's swimming right now. Literally, my brain is just
wow.
sloshing out. It doesn't,
that was a lot packed in, huh?
Like I was saying earlier, there's so much in there. It's so tightly packed. It's like somebody who has colon problems who hasn't been able to go to the bathroom for a year. That's how much stuff we got. Just packed. Man, I'm looking at that peanut butter whiskey, man. I'm getting a little jealous.
Oh, you got to have some.
I will later on.
Oh, later on? Okay.
Well, I mean, we're kind of wrapping things up.
Yeah, we're wrapping things up. Thank you, Jerry, for coming out.
Well, this one is for the books.
Did I lie? Did I say that we were going to have a pretty packed episode? I think we got. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, you right.
Well, okay. We're gonna sign off now. Thanks for everybody for listening. This is the Smorg.
If you're still here.
Show. Yeah. Congratulations for those who hung in there. Oh, sorry.
Don't blame that on me.
All right, here we go. Thank you for listening. This is the Smorgasbord Radio Show with Chris and Jerome.
Jerome.
And you can reach us at 312-95-SMORG. SmorgShowPodcast.com is where you can find our archives. We're on all different platforms for our podcast. Check out some of our earlier catalog. We've been doing this for 11 years. I'm sure there's something in there that could be entertaining for you. We'll be back again very soon. Thanks again, and we will talk to you again soon.
Bye.
Free fries when you get vaccinated? I got vaccinated.